Okay, let's keep going where we left off here. We were talking about the different ways that these get conjugated, and as I was listening to part one, I wanted to just clear up some things here. So this one is you too, right? I'm directly talking to both of you. So if I'm scolding my daughters, both of you need to clean this house up. You guys need to straighten up your room. Even if I had a son and a daughter, like that, if I'm talking directly to you two, this is the one. So this one here is if I'm talking about two people, right? Or you're referring to two people. You can be referring to two males or a male and a female. And then same thing here. This is if you're referring to two females. Then you talk about what they did or what they're going to do. You know, it might have been a little confusing when I was listening to it to think that, you have to be specific. Like if you're talking to your two daughters, do you use this one? No. If you're talking to them, he's talking about you too, you use this one. If you're talking about them to someone else, then you can use this one. Just to clear up any confusion. It sounded kind of confusing when I listened to it. Okay, so let's keep going along here. So, knoits, wadinoits, aknoits, odinoits. We went over that in the last one. This is what I'll be using when we do conjugations. So when we have class, I have hand signals that I use. So for the me form, as we're going through conjugations, I'll always point to myself. And then it's up to the class to conjugate in the me form. I'll point out towards you, straight ahead, and that means they have to conjugate the you form. I'll point to my left, and when I point to my left, they have to conjugate the male form. When I point to the right, they have to conjugate the female form. If I point off to just off to the side of me, that's where I do the it form. So to try to represent that best, what I have is these icons here as we go through it. So if we stick with that word, noits, right? If we stick with noits and we conjugate, usually we go through the progression. And at the most basic level, we like to stick with just the individual columns because that's kind of the ones you're going to use the most for a while. So if I do this one, knoits, snoits, snoits. So you can repeat after me if you want. You can do that. Knoits, knoits, snoits, snoits, hanoits, hanoits, yenoits, yenoits, ganoits, ganoits. So that's the progression. I'll usually do the me, you, him, her, it. But you don't want to learn it in order and get stuck in that order. So that's when we'll just start doing the random ones. So if I circle this one, that's up to you. What is that? You say it. Hanoit. Yenoit. Not sure why it does that. So it's up to you to answer which one I'm circling. You learn them in that random order because you got to know them out of order anyways, so that you can just have them at your call whenever you need them. So this would be my single conjugation, and I'd probably write a verb in here, and then we just do conjugations for the singles. Now once you have the singles, you can try to learn all 15 if you want, and people are able to do that. But if you just want to start with the singles, we use this. All right. So now I can move on to the dual circle, right? So if we do this, hninoits, hninoits, H-N-I, hninoits, sninoits, sninoits, henoits, henoits, Kninoites, kninoites, and acninoites, acninoites. So usually, I don't know, sometimes I give out the chart for it. We're kind of doing it without the writing, and I try to do the pronunciation first only because when people try to read the language, in English for all of us is our first language, we try to read it in English. It doesn't mess up this word too bad, but there's words where we have SH, and SH in Seneca does not sound like SH in English. But people will try to read it that way because their brain wants to think in English first. So this one, we just get all the pronunciation out of the way first. Okay? So again, kninoites, kninoites, hinoites, sninoites, acninoites. This is just a sample. Like, no, I'm not really going through the paradigm yet, unless I'm just using. I'm just using it as an example. So, if I specifically go through this, what I'll do is I'll put maybe C stem practice or A stem practice or verb conjugation practice again. So we would do the same thing here. If we go to the plurals now, once you have your singles and your duals, you can move on to your plurals. We'll have a chart for all these. So, duanoites, swanoites, hadinoites, wadinoites, and aguanoites. So we could go through all that, and then we can switch where it's the other way, right? So everyone that I've been saying so far was all the red prefixes of us acting on it, but I can switch it to it acting on all of us, and if we're on to those, then I'm not saying duanoites anymore. I'm saying onguanoites, still swanoites, hodinoites, odinoites, onguanoites. We can make those distinctions. I'll let you know which one we're working on, but I'll just randomize the circle, and it'll be up to you as the viewer to come up with the answer. I might circle it, give it about 3 seconds for you to see if you got it or not, and then I'll say what it is, just to see if you can get it. And then if we really want to do like randomized testing, then we go down to this one here where it has everything on it, right? So we can do this version over here. I can bounce around and do this version here. And then we can go back to this version here and that version there and here. And you just see how fast it comes to your head once you have all 15 versions of the word. So when you do those blue prefixes, in actuality, there isn't 15 changes. I have 15 boxes here, right? And I fill in all 15 boxes. But this one here, when you're doing the blue prefixes, this one here and this one here are going to be the same word. Same thing here. When you do this one here and you do this one down here, they're going to be the same word. It's just that the context around it in the sentence that you use is going to tell whether it's me and you or me and someone. So the same thing applies here. So it's going to say there's only really 11 changes in that version. When we do this one here, these ones, the they males and they females, will be the same over here when we do the blue prefixes. So your groups, when we get to they males and they females, will actually be 2 or more. Because these words, and you'll see later, I'm just kind of giving you a heads up on this now. It could be all Greek to you as I say it right now like this, but you'll see it in the examples, and I'll put up the changes in the pronoun charts later. But for now, that's just kind of a outline of how we'll be conjugating some of these verbs for practice. And then we'll put them into some practical sentences, so you're actually using it in a sentence instead of just conjugating. Because I will say conjugating helps. It helps to know all your changes for the words because that allows you to manipulate them. But learning a pronoun chart is not going to teach you how to speak the language. You're just going to know how to change a word. But it can't just sit there and change it. Then you're stuck. You're just stuck with that version, and that's it. So you got to have other things to build around it so you can say some complete sentences. But knowing the pronoun charts will help, and you got to know them out of order, any order, so that when you need it, you have the change that you need to use. So I think that concludes this part 2 of the first overview I'm covering. Okay, Daniel.